Hi there guys, welcome back to 3R Guitars and this these 58V builds. I want to glue the fretboards on next, and I've come to that point where you know, you obviously want to glue them on in the right place, and I've looked at several pictures of 58Vs, and basically I've seen some where, now looking at this, I've put a front pickup in with a pickup ring, and I think this is a vintage one, not a genuine vintage one, but a copy one of like an M69 style ring. So I know it's like the right size, but when I've looked at, so we've got the front pickup in, the pickup ring goes there, and what you want in the, you know, the genuine V's I've looked at, the fretboard almost butts directly up to that, to the edge of the ring. Now, you don't, where it, I mean, I've got where the top nut nominally would be, kind of thing. So there's about a 5mm flat landing at the you can just about see that at the, so this slopes up, stops about here, stops about there, and then 5mm later is where the nut ends. So you've got a landing surface for the nut to glue on. So that's roughly the place. I mean, I can adjust that slightly by you know, moving the fretboard back a little bit and sanding this down, but when I go up now and look at the where the end of the where the edge of the pickup ring comes, what I'm looking to see is I want you know, a reasonable length of fretboard between the 22nd fret and the edge of the pickup ring. Now I want to see whether that, you know, looks sensible. I mean, it does vary quite a bit, and I think the reason for that is that, you know, the neck joints were fettled and things like that to make them fit well. But what you know, I'm just looking for a sensible distance. I mean, I've seen some flying V's where there's an actual, you know, quite significant gap between the end of the fretboard and the pickup ring, but I don't think they are genuine 58 flying V's. On the pictures of all the ones I know that are 58s, like Keith Richards and things like that, you know, the end of the fretboard is close, if not touching the pickup ring. So I'm looking at this neck now. I've basically done the neck joint to within a gnats of, you know, fitting absolutely perfectly. I've got the pickup in where it's going to be, so I can draw a line, you know, at the end of the pickup ring. So, you know, and that looks really good. You know, we've got about a couple of mil, or well, 3mm I'd say, between the cavity and the front, and that's even back and sort of back and front kind of thing. Actually, I'm a bit wrong there. I think that should be a bit further back, but it's near enough. So we know we want the fretboard to, if I put this now on the, where I've currently got the top nut, where I've currently got the top nut here, and I look back to that line, let's draw a line so you can see it properly. That's the sort of distance I've got between the last fret and the end of the fretboard, and that looks quite sensible to me. You know, we've not got like long or short, so what that means is I'm quite happy where my top nut is going to fit on here. I've got no problem with that, so I think we're accurate. So I can go for gluing the fretboard on where I'd first estimated it, I think, and I'm going to go just a fraction further back, so that will make this end slightly smaller but give me a bit more comfort width to glue the nut on, and we're about perfect there. So that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to now start gluing this fretboard on. Now I think I'll come back to you when I get a bit closer to that, and I'll show you how I do it, because it's not much of a trick to gluing the fretboard on, but there are a few little things I do to make it easier to do. Okay, you can see my fretboard is on. Right, and that's taken 2 minutes. Right, well, it's not on, but this is what I do. Right, I can pull it off now, and what I effectively do is I just bang a couple of panel pins into the neck, so the ends are sticking out, and then I carefully put the truss rod, put the neck on, and you can see just here I squash it on, and the brad, I hammer these nails in and I cut them off so they've got a fairly sharp edge, and then squash the fretboard on where I want it to go, and you can see in there that there's a little dig where the nail has scarred the wood, and up here again, and it'll stop the fretboard squeegeing along with the glue kind of thing. So now we can glue the fretboard on, and what I use is I have a very basic clamping caul here, and you can see it's got raised edges, so the fretboard can go on there, and then it gets pushed down with a more pressure on the edges kind of thing. So that will glue that on. Now gluing Brazilian rosewood on is not the easiest thing, because it's such an oily wood. I mean, I use tight bond, but what I do is I'll scratch the surface of this up kind of thing. I don't go near the edges, just in case you take a gouge out sort of thing or something, but I actually scratch the surface of the fretboard up so you get a better key for the glue. I mean, I don't go mad, but sanding it is probably the worst thing you can do, because you just get dust everywhere, and the dust goes in the pores, and that's what you don't want. But like I say, it's quite an oily wood, so you have to, something like that just helps. Don't go rubbing your hands all over it, because again, your hands have got a certain amount of oil in it. So I think we're okay to go with that now, so I can get gluing it on, and I'll get back to you when I'm ready. Okay, just a few really small things here. See, these bits of wood are exactly the right taper for the neck, so you can hold it square in a vise, and funnily enough, they're exactly the same taper as the neck, because I cut them off the size of the neck. So keep those, you'll find them awfully handy when you want to clamp the neck anywhere. Not forgetting that the neck is fractionally too wide now, by about a millimetre and a bit all the way down. So, but the fretboard is the perfect width now for the finished neck. So once the fretboard is glued on, I can then finish the edge of the neck to the fretboard. Now we've spread the glue on, obviously get it nice and even on there, no little bits of crap in it that will stop it, you know, going down. We've got the cut off metal brads in there, sort of thing. So let's go putting the fretboard on, and there you go. I can feel that metal brad's gone into that hole that it's cut there, and let's get the end one in. There we go, that's not going anywhere. So now we can, I mean, I'm trying to push that sideways and you can't. I mean, some people put dowels in, drill holes and put dowels in, which is fine. I wouldn't go down the, you need a bigger thing than some people say, oh, just drill a hole and put a toothpick in. No, it doesn't work, toothpick will move. So we've got that now stuck down. We can put the clamping coil on, and we can get a couple of clamps on. Okay, now we've got 2 clamps on, so time to check. Right, I'm checking that the fretboard hasn't, you know, I've got neck sticking out either side of the fretboard, and I have. There's always a question that I get, it's like, how many clamps should I put on? You can never have too many clamps, that's impossible. Right, so you can see now I've got squeeze out around there, got squeeze out all the way up the neck, got squeeze out round the join, under the back of the fretboard. I've got squeeze out all the way around, so I think we've got enough clamps on there now. So that's, you know, obviously double check, triple check that the fretboard is on in the right place. I mean, things can happen, but I think we're pretty damn good with that one. So we're there with that neck. We've got the fretboard clamped, and what I'll do now is I'll just run something down there to clean the worst of the glue off, and let that set overnight, and we'll be good. Okay, we've got the two fretboards clamped on. This is the second one. I've done, yeah, it's all clamped on fine actually. A lot of people, what I tend to do is, because these G clamps obviously rely on turning, sometimes when you do up the clamping coil or the thing, that really encourages the whole thing to skid around on the glue. So sometimes, quite often I'll clamp them up with these kind of clamps first, because they just do direct pressure sort of thing, and have a lot less force on moving the joint around. But they don't clamp very tight at all compared to like a screw clamp, which you can probably put, like, I don't know, a ton of pressure on or something. Not a ton maybe, but certainly a lot of pressure on. So I'll use these to clamp it on first, get it all square and things, and then take one off at a time and redo it with these clamps, because they just hold so much better. So yeah, we can leave those dry overnight, and cross fingers everything's good. I mean, it's vital to check that it's gone on in exactly the right place, otherwise you'll be taking it off, and that's a whole lot of pain. But yeah, so we're all good with that, I think. So rock and roll. Oh, good morning and welcome back to 3R Guitars and these Flying V builds. Yesterday we glued the fretboards on, and I've unclamped them today. Absolutely perfect. So here's probably the more attractive Brazilian rosewood one. It's got a bit more gold in it, sort of thing, but absolutely fine, glued on. And here's the perhaps more plain one, all glued on. One thing I haven't, although I made I think in a video before, I kind of matched the necks to the bodies, but they're the same, so there's no problem with that. But one thing I have been looking at, which has slightly been confused me, and finally I've found a really close photo. But when you have, the neck is at an angle in here now, about a 2.5, 3 degree angle, something like that. And we've got the neck joints like spot on, as you can see. But when you actually look at it, because of the neck angle, there's just here, obviously the fretboard contacts the body there, and then at the back of that, because of the angle, that's absolutely solid. Because of the angle, there's a gap underneath at the back, which of course there is, that's no problem. But when I've actually looked at pictures of Flying V's, and I've found this really close-up picture, shows like the strap button on this side, and it's just really detailed. There's no growing gap, if you like, wedge-shaped gap between the fretboard and the body, and there's no, like I say, there's no filler strip in there. The fretboard isn't cut at a notch or anything stupid. The fretboard just carries on going up and fits the body. And the only thing I can, the thing I think that they've done, which is effectively what they do on the Les Paul, is this very front portion of the body here is actually sanded at a tip to match the neck angle. So from say where the pickup ring ends, where that pencil line is there, I think from there the body actually slopes down to match the neck slope. So the fretboard fits flat on the body, because it's the only way they can do it. And that would make sense because they do a similar thing on the Les Paul effectively, you know, with the 4-degree neck angle. The carved top of the Les Paul, the front section of it is just a straight ramp downwards at 4 degrees that the fretboard sits on, and I think they've done the same here. There's absolutely no other way they could do it. So what I'm going to do is revisit these neck pockets and just plane them down a little bit. I mean, I've got two choices here. I could either plane a little bit off the bottom of the neck. I'll have to measure. I'll measure this because this is meant to be 3/8 of an inch, and if that is 3/8 of an inch and not thicker, then I'll just whiz across the tops of the neck tenons sort of thing with that planing device in my drill, and basically shave that neck joint down a little bit. So firstly I'll check the thickness of this, which I've got here now. This is quite well documented as being 3/8 of an inch. So let's see what we've actually got there. Let's put it on fractions. Fractions here. Let's see what we've got. We've got 53/128. Let's see where we go. Get it to 3/8. God knows where that is, but oh, there we go. Right, that's 3/8. Let's stick it at that. That's exactly 3/8, and we're slightly, so this is slightly thicker than 3/8, so I can take a little bit off there, which I'll do. And to be honest, I've got a little bit of a messy route on here, so that will suit me really well. So we'll get I'll get the router set up. It's a bit of a pain, but we'll get that done, and we'll shave that down a little bit and then see how close we get. I don't want to go below 3/8 on this, so I'll get this down to 3/8, and I'll if I need more, I'll take a bit off the bottom of that. But I mean, we're only talking probably in all an absolute maximum of a couple of mil. So I'll get set up and do that. Right, here we go. Just as before, when we did the neck joint, set this up at the angle, and it's in exactly the same place as it was before. You can use the depth gauge, measure the front down to the template, and that's, let's go in millimeters there, 33.57 millimeters, and then come down again, 33.45, so we're within 0.1 of a millimeter, which is fine. One is I've wound this down so it's touching the extension on the bit there. It's touching the bottom of, till it was touching the bottom of the neck pocket, and then I've wound it down a little bit, and I'll go, and you can see it like wobbling there now, so it's balancing on the cutter. So we're ready now to route a little bit, so let's go and do that. And also there's a lock here which locks the router at that depth. So okay, let's do this now. I would say we've gone down, well, I can measure what we've gone down because I've left bits on here, sort of thing. I haven't routed it all. I've actually gone down 0.6 of a millimeter, I think. We need a little bit more than that. So let's give it another little wind down. Right, we've gone down there. I can see we've gone down about 1 millimetre now, which I'm not going to do any more than that. If there's any more got to come off, it's going to come off the neck heel. So I think, you know, that 3/8 measurement on the front, I want to keep that. So I mean, I don't mind pinching a little bit off that. I mean, obviously in the factory these necks were hand fitted anyway, you know, or hand fettered at the end kind of thing. I've seen pictures of them at the Gibson factory doing it. So, and you know, when you consider that when you read about the Flying V's, the neck angles varied from 2 degrees to 4, so there's obviously a fair amount of handwork going on there. But let's check the thickness of this now, see what we are. I'm going to put it back in fractions, inches, fractions. Let's see what we are. Oh my god. Now that's not bad, is it? So I'm really pleased with that. And you right, now we can see we've got a little gap at the bottom there, so I can file the top of the body now down to the curve. I hope this is going all right. I think so. You know, it's a bit nerve-wracking, but anyway, so I'm gonna try this. Oh, that's good. So there we are. We're actually, you know, pretty damn good there. Got the neck joint good and the neck angle good now, and it's all fitting on, so that looks absolutely gorgeous. So there we go. Excellent. I'm pleased with that. I've got a bit more fettling to do on, I can see the shoulders here on there, but not unhappy with that at all. So, good stuff. I'm pleased with that. Okay, well I actually did make a bit of a cock-up cutting that extra little bit out of the base of the neck tenon. And the reason was that because the thing is at an, you know, the routing template is set at an angle, I went round it and cut my slot. But when I was doing these shoulders here, the cutter and came round the template, the cutter's obviously at an angle, and what I couldn't understand is when I put the neck back in, these shoulders were you know, had quite a gap in them. And anyway, so suddenly dawned on me what I'd done, and initially I was a bit like, oh crumbs, that's a bit bad. So I mean, you're only talking like, you know, 2 millimeters or something. So what I've done, I've just been sort of filing across here and straightening these shoulders back up. I didn't want to mess with the neck because I knew that was good, so just squared those shoulders up again so they're vertical, and I actually am far more pleased now. So, you know, we've got an absolutely perfect joint there, and same on the other side. You know, it's an absolute fine fit sort of thing. We've got no problems there. But also it's brought the fret in the neck obviously a fraction further back towards the pickup, and I think it'll give a better amount of wood between the pickup ring and the front pickup. So, you know, we'll be looking at there, which I think that distance, you know, looks a bit nicer with less it was before. So quite happy. I'm quite happy with that now. I mean, it's only tiny sort of thing. I'd hardly call it a cock-up really, but I hadn't planned on doing it, so I guess it is. Now we've got obviously the fretboard now sits really nicely on the body, and I think that looks far more authentic than if I'd have left that little gap underneath there and filled it, because it's not there on the original one. So that looks really good. So what I'm going to do now, I'm really pleased with the way that neck fits, and I've made my mind up. This neck blank goes with this body. I don't want to keep changing them around now after fitting them, so I'm going to number this one up, get back to the other V and revisit that neck joint and get that as good as this one. But now we've got this